Good morning, Lifestyle is Healthers. Here we are, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. This is going to be my new go live slot every week. I've been loath to do and commit myself to a weekly time slot because my timetables changed so much recently. However, I have decided that no matter what now, I am going to show up in here live every Wednesday at 8 a.m. So if you have any questions that you would like me to cover in this live slot, then please do put questions below here. So for those of you who answered my poll on do you regularly take your body temperature, your blood pressure, know your resting heart rate and your blood sugar levels, thank you for answering. So overwhelmingly, the majority of us said no, never. And as I said in the post itself, no judgment on that, because nobody's told you that actually you can do these things yourself. You don't have to wait and to go to the doctor to take them, but they can actually give us quite a good clue as to where our health is, and we can start to take preventative measures before things get out of hand. Or we can go to our doctor much earlier than perhaps we would have done if we didn't know what those readings or kind of indicators were. So what I wanted to do today was go through just what and how. So why should you do it, and how do you do it, right? And so those of you who are watching, there's a couple of you watching, if you can just click above this video and let StreamYard tell me who you are, that would be awesome. Give me a little comment and tell me that you're here. That would be good. So first thing, I think everybody's been familiar because of COVID, haven't they, of body temperature. But if you haven't, a lot of people have had the kind of the gun pointed at their head, haven't they? Which takes your body temperature. So would you consider 138/88 high for a woman in her 50s? It's not great. But it's not, I wouldn't be kind of panicking, and I'm going to go through, I'm usually low. Well, in that case, it's telling me that there's something going on then, yes. If you can tell me who you are, that would be kind of a good idea. So what I'm going to go through, what ideally we want to do if we've got blood pressure issues going on. And I'm just going to quickly run through temperature first, and then I'll come on to blood pressure. So temperature, folks, a bog basic thermometer, you can get it from any chemist and you can get it from online, and you can just literally book it underneath your tongue and it will you just hold it there until it bleeps. It's really dead straightforward. Yeah. So then, it's Barbara, right? Okay. So yeah, so that's the first thing. Now your average body temperature, obviously, I hate the word average, but what ideally kind of normal should be is around about 37 degrees in Celsius. And if your monitor is measuring in Fahrenheit, it wants to be around about 98.6. Now, some of us have a naturally slightly lower body temperature, and you know this by taking it on a regular basis. And it's as simple as that. So don't panic about your numbers being exactly the average, because none of us are average. They're guidelines, as is the same thing for any test that you do. It's a guideline. So for me, I know that my average body temperature is normally lower than that. It's normally around about 97.4. And that's kind of normal for me. So do I panic if it goes up a little bit? No. Do I panic if it goes down a little bit? No. Do I panic if it goes up significantly? Well, I don't panic, but it gives me a clue that potentially my body is fighting something off. It could be a virus, it could be a pathogen that's in there. And so your body temperature does give you a clue. Your body temperature will also change if you're a lady, when you are coming up to your cycle. So pre-ovulation, it's going to be slightly different. And for any of you who've done any fertility testing or gone down the road of IVF, you'll know that you're supposed to take your body temperature, and that just helps to keep a monitor on what is going on. So that is body temperature. So is it a good idea to know what it is? Yes. Is it a good idea to have one of these thermometers in the house if you've got kids? Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. It's really simple to do, and you can start to take preventative steps if you suspect that flu or coronavirus is a thing, and then you can start to manage those symptoms straight away, right in the early stages. And here's the thing: the earlier you start looking after what potentially may be going on and aiming to rectify things, then the sooner you're going to feel better. And it's that simple. So blood pressure. Let me just run through a blood pressure monitor. This is right. This is one of the blood pressure monitors. This is the one that I use. There's tons available. Boots and all the supermarkets seem to have them these days. They are not hard to find, and of course you can get them on Amazon. Hi, Alison. Nice to see you this morning. So this is my blood pressure monitor, and it's got a crack on the screen. It's pretty darn old. I have got another one. I've got a couple, but I just. Typical, I like the old one the best. So the most important thing when you put this on is knowing what to do. Is there a difference in arm? And I get asked that quite a lot. Should it be my right arm? Should it be my left arm? There is a slight difference. There's been extensive research papers to show there is actually a minimal difference. What I'm going to say to you is pick an arm, but stick to that arm, because remember, it is about you and what's normal for you. So when you put the cuff on, if you see where the actual tube that goes to the monitor attaches, there's like a little disc in here. You can just feel it's like a little round bit. That wants to go on the vein here, just kind of there, just above where your elbow joint is. And that's the best place for you to put it. So that's how it will sit on me. And then I'm going to pull it reasonably tight. Not so tight that I'm putting off my circulation, but it wants to be reasonably tight. And then I'm just going to rest my elbow on my knee. I've got my feet flat on the floor, and I would sit back and just hit the start button. I'm not going to do it because it makes quite a noise, especially I think it might be a bit echoey in here. So, but that's how you would put it on. Now, the thing is, don't jump into doing it if you've been rushing around the room. It's not going to give you a clear picture. And the rule of thumb is when it comes to blood pressure readings, do it 3 times, right? Because some of you may have heard of white coat syndrome. Okay, so white coat syndrome is where you know you're going to have your blood pressure taken, and thoughts create stress, stress creates a response, and that will increase your blood pressure. So just you thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have my blood pressure taken, I wonder what it's going to be, can actually elevate your blood pressure. So relaxed state, take a few deep breaths, take the first reading, and then just chill out, make a note of it. Right? Forget about it. Do something relaxing. Maybe, listen to a song, do a little bit of meditation for a minute or so. That's all. Or a couple of minutes, and then take it a second time, and then repeat the process. Take it 3 times. So what some of you will find is if you go to your doctor, if your doctor's pretty savvy and on it, although to be fair now they're rushed and against the clock, what normally happens is they'll put the blood pressure monitor on and they'll take it, then they'll have a chat with you and they'll listen to what you have to say. And then they'll ask you to just relax and take a few deep breaths, and then they'll take it a second time, and then they'll take it a third time. And it's that third reading that gives us a much clearer picture of what is going on. So what is average? Okay, so we're looking for around about 120 over 80 is the kind of the one that's quoted, right? Now, for a lot of people, it's much lower than that, and that is normal for them. So for me, because I take my blood pressure regularly, and I always have done, and especially so since my heart attack, then I know that for me, my average blood pressure is around about 109 over 56, right? Now, that's average for me, okay? If it starts to shoot above that, if I'm getting into around about the 115s, 118s, 120s, then that's telling me that there's probably some stress happening that I'm not fully aware of. So 2, I would say to you, do a few readings over a few days to get a clear idea of what is normal for you. If you are getting readings like Barbara said there, 138 over 88, is that high? First question I'm going to ask is, so what kind of a state were you in when you took it? Okay, so if you'd just been rushing around and been, shouting at the boys or watching the clock, and then you decide you're going to sit down and take it, well, of course it's going to be high, right? But if you've been sat down or if you've been lying in bed and you just literally had the monitor right by your bed, you didn't even have to get out of bed and take it, and you took it lying in bed, and that's what your reading was, then I would be a little bit concerned, and I'd say keep an eye on it. So 120 over 80 is the figure that's quoted. 10 above that or 10 below that is still classed as the normal kind of bracket. So 110, or 130 is still classed in the normal range, and the 80 is kind of your barometer, so 70 Yeah, or up to 90. Now, when we start hitting up to 90, then I would say, right, keep an eye on things. Also, these monitors give you your heart rate. And so your heart rate is also a pretty good clue, along with your blood pressure, whether you are stressed or not. Because oftentimes I don't feel stressed and my blood pressure's not necessarily gone up, but my heart rate has, right? And a faster heart rate is what happens when your stress hormones come in. So if my heart rate is in the 60s and 70s, then I'm going to be like, okay, so what is on my mind? Because my resting heart rate is now around about 50-ish. Before I had my heart attack, it was a lot lower than that. But obviously my heart function now is not as good. Part of my heart tissue is just not working as it should. So by default, my heart rate is a little bit higher. So for me, my resting heart rate now is around about 48, 49. But it used to be around about 41, 42. So when I start hitting up into the 60s or 70s, then for me, that tells me I'm stressed. Now, what is the average heart rate? Normally, for most people who are pretty healthy generally, it's around about 60. Think 1 beat a minute is kind of average. If you have always had a faster heart rate, then it may be closer to 70 is more normal for you. And if you are somebody who is tachycardic, which is what I am, who we have a naturally slower heart rate, so bradycardic, I always get the brady and the tachy confused. If you've got a naturally slower heart rate, then you may be closer to the sort of the 45s and 50s. It's what's normal for your body. And this is the thing. And this is why I'm recommending that you monitor these things, guys, because once you know you're normal, when you take a reading and it's not your normal, that's when you can go, okay, let me look at my lifestyle. Let me look at what is going on for me. What have I been doing that's probably created some kind of stress? What have I perhaps picked up? Am I feeling a little bit yucky? Do I feel like I'm getting a virus or a cold or coming down with something? Do I need to take some rest? So you can really look at what you need to do to help yourself. If you then make some changes and you still feel that these readings are not what they should be, then that's when you go to your doctor and you can say, hey, I've been monitoring my temperature and my blood pressure, my heart rate over the last week. And what I do is I use my phone and I just take a picture. I just literally take a picture of what it says on the blood pressure thing. And you can do the same with your body temperature monitor if you want to, because your doctor can quickly then look at your phone. You can say, look, this is what it's been like over this week. Yeah, it just helps them if you can give them as much information as possible so they're not jumping to conclusions and not having to send you back and start to do some stuff for yourself because you've already done it. The same with your blood glucose. So blood glucose is simple. Monitor. Again, it comes in a little kit like this, right? It's handy. Handbag size, right? And inside it, it kind of this is what it looks like. So this is your monitor here. This is the little thing that you prick your finger with to get the blood out, and this is the little strips that you put in. And it's really simple and straightforward to use. So all you do is you would get it. It comes with the little pin prickers. So it comes in a packet. Now, for those of you with diabetes who regularly take your blood glucose, you'll know all about this. But for other people, it comes like that, and you will twist off that bit, and it will expose a tiny, I don't know if you can see that, it's a tiny little needle, right? And what you do is you pop the top off your little machine here like that. So I've just literally taken the top off it. Where is my camera? There, right? And I stick that in, and I push it down, and I don't know if you heard that. There's a little click, and it's now sat in there, all just rubbish. I'd be crap on Blue Peter, wouldn't I? Right, it's there. So, and then that goes on the top, and literally, what's going to happen? You can't see anything, but there's a hole there, and I will just put it on my finger. I will hit the release button. I'm not going to do it because I'll bleed all over because I am on blood thinners, which means when I start bleeding, I don't stop for a while. So I'm not going to prick it, but you prick your finger, right? And you literally will get the blood. As you're waiting for that blood to kind of ooze, you stick a strip in this machine. So it's really straightforward. The little strip goes in, And it tells you, it's got an arrow, it tells you which way to put it in the machine. You put it in there, and as soon as you put it in, you can see that it's peaked, right? And what it's saying to me is, look, can you put some blood on here, please? So you'd put that little bit there where the blood spat is, you just hold it like that, don't smear it, you just literally hold it like that, it'll suck it up, and then this will give you a reading. And what you're looking for with your blood glucose is, again, look at your normal. Ideally, you don't want it to be above 6 when you're fasting. Now, that's what's quoted by the NHS and the World Health Organization. When I'm working with clients, I want it to be closer to 5 and preferably under 5 if it is your fasting. So if you're around the sort of 4.5, 4.7, 4.8 mark, then I would be very happy with the state of what is going on with your blood sugar balance. If you're in the 6s and 7s, then there's some work to do with getting your blood sugar balance online. So why is blood sugar balance important? Well, it gives us an idea of just what is happening internally. And we all know that blood sugar balance helps all kinds of things. If you can monitor your blood sugar, the health of your cells is going to be much, much better. If you've got a lot of sugar floating around in your bloodstream, a lot of glucose floating around in your bloodstream, by the way, when we're talking about blood sugar, we're talking glucose. You are going to create inflammation. And that blood glucose is going to affect all kinds of hormone information. Remember, hormones are just messengers. And so those messages are going to be telling your body to do different things that you don't necessarily want it to do. It can affect your leptin and your ghrelin, your hunger and your satisfied hormones. It can affect your mood. It will affect your serotonin, dopamine balance. It will pretty much affect everything. Okay, it will also, unfortunately, mean that your body is more likely to age faster. I know, if you've got really high blood glucose levels, it's an inflammatory indicator for internally what is going on. So is one of the first steps to really good health to really manage your blood glucose balance? Yes, it absolutely is, whether you're diabetic or not. And we all have heard this bandied about so much. There's an epidemic of diabetes. There isn't an epidemic of diabetes, right? Diabetes is happening because people are not looking after their blood sugar management because there is an abundance of crappy processed food out there. And it's not an epidemic, and it's not rocket science. It really is that simple. And the same with obesity, right? So your blood sugar levels and what is going on with that should be kind of a really important thing for you. So if you don't know what your blood glucose levels is, then rather than going to your doctor and having to be sent for a blood test, why not just get yourself a blood glucose monitor? They are under 20 quid. At the moment, and it's an investment for life. It's not something that's going to break or you run out of usage for it. The whole family can use it. So you get these test strips. They come in packs of 50 or 100. You get a load of test strips and you get a load of needles. So you change the needle for every person. So you don't have to have a monitor each. You can have one monitor for the household, and as many people in the household can use it. So is it a good idea to know what is going on with all of these? Absolutely. And the other thing that I didn't mention on there was know your waist to hip ratio. So literally you would take a measurement, doesn't matter whether you do it in inches or centimeters, your preferred measurement, it's entirely up to you. But you will literally take the measurement of your hip, take the measurement of your waist, and then you divide the bigger measurement, your hip measurement, into the smaller measurement, your waist measurement. Well, hopefully your waist is smaller than your hip. And that should give you a 0 point number, right? And that is a real good indicator of heart health and what is going on internally, right? And so for women, we really want that to be under 1. We want it to be 0.9 if possible. And for guys, it wants to be around about 0.8, right? Or lower. Right, so the lower that we go, the better, to be quite honest. I remember ages ago when I was heavily into helping people lose body fat, we used to talk about what the ideal is, and they did some research on what a man finds pleasing in a woman's figure, and you know that hourglass figure. So what is that waist to hip ratio that attracts men? And it's actually 0.8. 0.85 for a woman. But there you go, a little bit of useless information I like to just throw in there at the end. So if you don't know or haven't got any idea of what your heart rate is doing, or your blood pressure is doing, or your blood glucose, and you really do want to take responsibility for your own health, and know when things are going awry, so that's when you can seek out some help and take some preventative measures, then I highly recommend that you do get yourself these monitors. And I will put in this group the actual charts, so you can just have a look. So don't worry if you can't remember the numbers that I've quoted. So there you go. If that's been helpful and useful, please do let me know. And if you do go out and get any of these, why not post a picture of you taking your own blood pressure and doing your blood glucose, just so that anybody who's going, oh, I don't want to do that, it's probably really hard and it's really scary. I think you've seen by how I've demonstrated it's not. But I'm going to caveat that with, like anything that you are testing, unlike any app that you may be using, right? Don't go overboard with doing it all of the time, because you can get like crazy focused. You know, like some people do with, oh my God, I haven't hit my steps and I'm going to go out at 11 o'clock at night just to hit that number. Oh, no. So do I recommend you take these things every single day? Don't think it's necessary, unless you suspect that you're coming down with something, then you might want to do that. When it comes to your blood glucose, what's quite nice to do is to take it first thing in the morning, and then take it again after you've had breakfast, and just see how quickly it goes up. And then take it again just before lunch, so that it's had time to come down. And it's just quite nice to get curious and see what's happening with your body. Yeah. And then what I suggest that you do with your blood pressure is take it at different times of the day, just to give you an idea of how your body is functioning in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. And do that just for a week, just to get an idea of your normal, your body. Then when you have that, I would suggest that you only do these things once a week or once a fortnight. It's a check. Now, just think of it like you check on your car. How often do you check your car tire pressure? How often do you look at your fuel gauge? Well, you look at that all the time. So your fuel gauge is kind of similar to your blood glucose, and your tire pressure is kind of similar to what is going on with your blood pressure. So, you know, regularly, maybe put it in your diary, but don't go OTT and get like crazy about the numbers, because you can drive yourself demented. So on that note, I'm going to say ciao for now. Have a lovely, lovely Wednesday. Apparently, if you're down here in the south, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. What crazy weather in the space of like just 10 days. We've had ice, snow, rain, wind, and now we're going to have like summer temperatures. Amazing. So have a good one, and thanks for watching, folks. Speak to you soon.